Your soulmate just wrote you a secret love letter. It disappears in 5 minutes. My beloved child, don't skip, because somewhere in the quietest corner of your soulmate's heart, words have finally been written that they could never bring themselves to say aloud. This is not an ordinary message. It feels like a secret love letter created after countless moments of hesitation, filled with everything they have been carrying inside. And somehow, you were meant to hear its meaning before the moment passes. Imagine your soulmate sitting alone, rewriting the first sentence again and again because nothing sounded powerful enough to describe what they feel for you. Then finally, they stopped overthinking and wrote from the heart, "There is something about you I have tried to forget, but every time I do, my heart remembers you even more." Stay till the end, because that is only the beginning. The most surprising words are still hidden deeper inside this letter, and once you hear them, you may understand why this message feels so important. Something changed while they were writing. At first, they wanted to keep everything simple, but then one memory of you opened the door to everything they had been holding back. Suddenly, the letter became more personal, more sincere, more revealing. They admitted that certain moments with you stayed in their mind far longer than you probably realized. A conversation, a smile, a small gesture you may have forgotten. Your soulmate remembered it all. And then came the sentence they almost erased. "You became important to me before I was ready to admit how important you were." Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because immediately after writing those words, your soulmate revealed why this letter feels like it could disappear in 5 minutes. They were afraid that if they stared at their confession for too long, courage would turn back into hesitation. So they gave themselves one tiny window of bravery, one moment to finally let the truth exist instead of hiding it again. But here is where the letter takes an unexpected turn. Your soulmate did not finish by simply saying they missed you. They wrote something much bigger. "If I could choose one person to understand what my silence has really meant, I would choose you." And beneath that sentence came a confession they had apparently been trying to find the courage to express for a long time. They do not want you to remember them as someone who stayed silent forever. They want a new chapter, one where honesty replaces guessing, where feelings no longer have to remain hidden behind unfinished conversations. Stay till the end, because the final lines of this secret letter contain the revelation they struggled the most to write. There is a reason they chose this moment. There is a reason your name kept returning to their mind. And there is one sentence waiting at the bottom of that letter that could completely change the meaning of everything you thought you knew about their feelings for you. Tonight, the words your soulmate almost erased are becoming the most important words in the entire letter. Don't skip, because this is where their hidden feelings begin to unfold in a way you may never have expected. After writing your name, they stopped for a moment, stared at the page, and finally admitted something they had been keeping inside. "I kept waiting for the perfect moment to tell you, but every time that moment came, I became afraid that my words would never be enough." Then came another line, even more revealing. "You have no idea how many times I wanted to reach out just to hear from you." Stay till the end, because your soulmate didn't write this letter simply because they were thinking about you. Something happened recently that made them realize they could no longer keep pretending these feelings were small. One ordinary memory suddenly reminded them of everything, the way you made them feel understood, the way your presence stayed with them even after you were gone, and the strange feeling that somehow their heart had already chosen you long before their mind was ready to accept it. Then the letter changed completely. Your soulmate stopped talking about the past and began writing about what they secretly hope could happen next. "If I had another chance to speak without fear," they wrote, "I would tell you that meeting you changed something inside me." Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next sentence was the one they almost couldn't finish. They admitted that they had imagined a future conversation with you countless times, not some perfect movie moment, but something simple and real. Sitting beside you, looking into your eyes, finally explaining why they sometimes seemed distant when their heart was actually pulling them closer. And then they confessed, "My silence was never emptiness. Sometimes it was simply too many feelings arriving at once." They even wondered whether you had noticed the little signs, the longer looks, the unfinished sentences, the moments when they wanted to say more but changed the subject. Every one of those moments had a meaning. And now, with only minutes before they might lose the courage to keep this letter, they are finally putting that meaning into words. But the deepest secret is still waiting near the bottom of the page. Your soulmate suddenly wrote one sentence, stopped, and read it again as though even they couldn't believe they had finally admitted it. I don't want another beautiful possibility to disappear simply because I was too afraid to speak. Stay till the end, because what follows changes the entire letter. They are not asking for perfection. They are not asking you to understand everything immediately. They simply want you to know that beneath all the silence, uncertainty, and unspoken moments, there has been something genuine growing quietly. And now they have reached the part of the letter they protected more carefully than anything else, the part explaining exactly what they want from you next. The words are already there. Their heart has already chosen them. But before the final confession appears, there is one last truth your soulmate needs you to understand, and it may explain everything that has happened between you until now. There is one line in this secret letter your soulmate stared at longer than all the others, because writing it meant finally admitting what their silence had been hiding. Don't skip, because this is where everything begins to connect. They wrote, I thought time would make these feelings smaller, but somehow, time only made me understand them better. Your soulmate had tried to explain away the connection. They told themselves it was simply admiration, simply curiosity, simply a beautiful memory that would eventually become ordinary. But it never became ordinary. Certain moments kept returning, the sound of your voice, something kind you once said, the way you made them feel seen without even realizing it. And then came the confession they had resisted writing, you stayed with me in ways you probably never knew. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate is about to reveal why they chose to write this letter now instead of waiting another day. Recently, something made them imagine what life would feel like if they never told you the truth, and that thought changed everything. Suddenly, staying silent felt harder than being honest. And then the handwriting seemed to become faster, as though once the truth started coming out, they could no longer stop it. I have rehearsed conversations with you inside my mind, they admitted. I imagined telling you everything, then I imagined your reaction, and every time I became nervous and kept it inside. Don't skip. The next words are even bigger. Your soulmate revealed that there was a moment when they almost reached out to you, but stopped at the final second. They had something meaningful ready to say, yet uncertainty won that moment. Ever since then, they have wondered what might have happened if they had simply been brave enough to continue. That unfinished moment became one of the reasons this secret love letter exists. They no longer want their connection with you to become a collection of almosts, almost speaking, almost reaching out, almost revealing everything. This time, they wanted their feelings to exist somewhere outside their own heart, even if only for 5 minutes. Now the letter reaches the sentence that changes its entire meaning. Your soulmate wrote, if you ever wondered whether you mattered to me, please never mistake my hesitation for a lack of feeling. Stay till the end, because beneath those words is something even more unexpected. They admitted that what they truly want is not some impossible perfect moment. They want honesty. A real conversation. A chance to finally say what has remained unfinished between you. And then, at the very bottom of the section, they wrote 6 words they had apparently been afraid to admit. I still hope there is time. Something huge is waiting for you, because the letter is not finished. Your soulmate has one final secret behind those words, something connected to a decision they have been quietly considering. And when you discover what they are thinking about doing next, you will understand why this letter was never meant to be just another confession. Just when you think you understand what this secret letter means, your soulmate reveals the one decision they kept hidden until now. Don't skip, because this is the moment their words stop looking backward and begin pointing toward what they want to do next. They wrote, I have spent too long wondering what could happen between us, and I don't want uncertainty to write the ending for me. Then they paused and added something even more personal. There were moments when I wanted to tell you how much you meant to me, but I kept believing there would always be another day. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has finally realized that waiting for the perfect moment can become another way of never speaking at all. That is why this letter feels temporary. 5 minutes represents the tiny window in which they are refusing to overthink, refusing to erase their honesty, and allowing themselves to say what their heart has been trying to say for so long. And then comes the sentence they had been building toward from the beginning. If there is still a door open between us, I want to stop standing outside it. But what they wrote next makes the confession even deeper. Your soulmate admitted they are not searching for dramatic promises. They want something much more meaningful. One honest conversation where neither of you has to guess anymore. I want to know the real you, they wrote, not just the version I created from memories and unanswered questions. Don't skip, because the next revelation explains why you have remained so unforgettable to them. It was never one perfect moment. It was the accumulation of tiny things, your kindness when nobody expected it, your way of listening, the energy you brought into ordinary moments, and the strange comfort they felt around you. Your soulmate confessed, you made ordinary moments feel important, and I didn't understand how rare that was until later. Now imagine them reading those words back, knowing they could erase everything and return to silence. Yet for once, they didn't. They kept writing. Because underneath every hesitation was one truth becoming impossible to ignore. They would rather risk being understood than spend another chapter wondering what honesty might have changed. And now the letter reaches its most closely guarded section. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate wrote your name again, followed by a sentence so simple that it carries more weight than everything before it. I am ready to stop hiding what you mean to me. But they still haven't revealed the final surprise. Beneath that line is a confession about the exact moment they realized their feelings had become deeper than they expected. It wasn't when you looked your best. It wasn't during some extraordinary event. It happened during a completely ordinary moment you may not even remember, and somehow, that tiny moment changed the way they saw you forever. Now only a few lines remain in this secret love letter, and the next one explains exactly what happened that day. Once you hear it, every unfinished sentence, every quiet pause, and every hidden feeling in this letter may finally make sense. The moment your soulmate finally understood their feelings was so ordinary that you probably never realized anything important was happening. Don't skip, because this tiny memory became the turning point behind the entire secret letter. They wrote, you probably don't remember that day, but I remember exactly how I felt around you. There was no grand event, no perfect setting, no carefully planned conversation. You simply did something natural. Perhaps you listened when they needed to be heard, smiled when they weren't expecting it, or showed kindness without asking for anything in return. And suddenly, they saw something in you that stayed with them. That was the moment, the letter continues, when I realized I wasn't only thinking about you because I liked being around you. I was thinking about you because something about you felt strangely familiar to my heart. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. After admitting this, your soulmate wrote another sentence and nearly erased it. I started comparing every connection to the feeling I had with you, and nothing felt quite the same. Then came the confession they had hidden even from themselves. Your soulmate admitted that whenever something beautiful happened, part of them wondered what it would feel like to tell you about it. Whenever they heard something meaningful, your name unexpectedly crossed their mind. Whenever they imagined finally being completely honest with someone, somehow you appeared in that picture. Don't skip. The letter becomes even more revealing here. I kept asking myself why you were still on my mind, until I realized I already knew the answer. They weren't searching for another excuse anymore. They weren't pretending the connection meant nothing. They finally accepted that you had become emotionally important to them. And this is why the 5-minute window matters so much. They knew that if they waited too long, they might start questioning every sentence again. So they wrote quickly, honestly, allowing every truth to remain exactly where it landed. And then they reached the words they had avoided from the very beginning. If you could see yourself through my eyes for one moment, you would understand why forgetting you was never as easy as I pretended. But the biggest revelation is still beneath those words. Stay till the end, because your soulmate suddenly shifts from telling you how they feel to revealing what they have secretly decided. They wrote, I don't want this letter to become the closest I ever came to telling you. That sentence changes everything. This confession was never supposed to be the ending, it was preparation for something more real. Your soulmate wants the courage behind these words to follow them beyond the page. They want to stop replaying imaginary conversations and finally create a genuine one. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is now only one secret left between their heart and the final lines of this letter. What exactly do they want to say when that conversation finally happens? They have already written the opening sentence. They have already imagined looking at you while saying it. And once those words are revealed, you will understand why your soulmate was willing to put everything they had been hiding into a letter that might exist for only 5 unforgettable minutes. Before those 5 minutes disappear, your soulmate reaches the sentence they have imagined saying directly to you more times than they could ever admit. Don't skip, because everything in this secret letter has been leading toward these words. If I finally had you in front of me, I wouldn't waste the moment pretending anymore. They imagined looking into your eyes, taking one quiet second, and saying, "You mattered to me long before I knew how to explain it." Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The letter reveals that your soulmate never wanted their hesitation to become the story you remembered about them. Behind every unfinished conversation was another sentence they wished they had said. Behind every moment of distance was a question they wanted to ask. And behind all those moments was one realization growing stronger. Some connections are too meaningful to leave permanently unexplored. That is why they wrote, "If we ever get one completely honest conversation, I want you to know exactly where my heart has been." Then something surprising appears in the next lines. Your soulmate admits they have imagined your response, but not in the way you might expect. They are not demanding that you immediately feel exactly what they feel. Instead, they wrote, "I only hope you hear me without all the fear and confusion that kept getting between my heart and my words." Don't skip. They want clarity more than fantasy. They want to discover whether the quiet connection they felt was something you noticed too. And then comes the question they have apparently carried for longer than they intended. Did you ever feel that strange pause between us when neither of us said anything, but somehow the silence felt full? Your soulmate remembers those moments. They remember wondering whether you were holding back words too. And every time they thought about asking, courage disappeared at the last second. But inside this letter, they finally asked the question they could never say aloud. Was I the only one who felt that something between us was unfinished? Stay till the end, because the answer is not the final surprise, the next sentence is. Your soulmate wrote, "Whatever your truth is, I would rather know it than spend forever inventing answers inside my mind." That is the transformation hidden inside this letter. They are no longer writing from hesitation. They are writing from readiness. Something huge is waiting for you, because just beneath that confession appears a final section they originally planned never to include. It begins with the words, "There is one more thing you deserve to know." And suddenly, everything becomes more personal. Your soulmate is about to reveal the one memory of you they protected most carefully, the memory they returned to whenever they questioned whether their feelings were real. It was something you said without realizing how deeply it would stay with them. They remember the words. They remember the moment. And once you hear why that memory became so important, you will understand why this secret letter was written now and why your soulmate could no longer leave their feelings unwritten. There is a reason your soulmate protected this one memory more carefully than every other moment between you, and now, with the secret letter nearing its final lines, they are finally revealing why. Don't skip, because what you once considered a simple moment became something completely different inside their heart. They wrote, "You said something to me once that you probably forgot 5 minutes later, but I carried it with me far longer than you could imagine." Maybe you encouraged them when they were questioning themselves. Maybe you noticed something good in them that others overlooked. Maybe you simply spoke with kindness at exactly the right moment. Whatever those words were, your soulmate remembered the feeling behind them. They wrote, "That was when I realized you weren't trying to impress me. You were simply being yourself, and somehow that meant more." Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate admits that whenever they later questioned their feelings, they returned to that memory. Not because it was dramatic, but because it felt genuine. And somewhere inside that ordinary moment, their heart quietly began seeing you differently. But then the letter reveals something they had never planned to admit. Your soulmate wrote, "There were times I wondered whether you had forgotten me completely." Don't skip, because instead of making their feelings disappear, that uncertainty forced them to understand what you truly meant to them. They tried focusing on everything else. Days moved forward. Life remained busy. Yet your memory kept appearing unexpectedly, in familiar words, familiar places, quiet evenings, and those strange little moments when the mind suddenly returns to someone without being invited. Your soulmate finally stopped asking, "Why am I still remembering them?" and started asking a much bigger question. What if this connection mattered because I was supposed to learn something from it? That question changed the way they viewed everything. They no longer wanted to romanticize silence or endlessly imagine possibilities. They wanted truth. They wanted clarity. And above all, they wanted you to know that the feelings written inside this disappearing letter were not created in 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes only gave them enough courage to finally reveal what had been growing quietly for much longer. Now the letter reaches a line your soulmate rewrote 3 times before leaving it untouched. If this is the only chance my words ever get to reach you, remember this: I never considered you ordinary. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Beneath that sentence, they reveal that one final decision has already been made. They do not want to keep communicating with you only through memories, imaginary conversations, or words they never send. They want something real enough to replace all the guessing. And then comes the sentence that makes the entire letter suddenly feel different. The next time I have the opportunity to speak to you, I want to be brave enough to tell you myself. But there is still one mystery left. Your soulmate hasn't revealed the exact confession they plan to say when that moment arrives. They saved those words for the very end of the letter. And when you hear them, you may finally understand why every line before this was only preparing you for the biggest truth they have been hiding. Now the final hidden confession is beginning to appear, and your soulmate knows that once these words are written, they can never pretend they never felt them. Don't skip, because this is the sentence they were afraid to place on the page. If I could tell you only one truth, I would tell you that meeting you changed the way I understand connection. They didn't write that you were perfect. They didn't create some impossible fantasy. Instead, they admitted something deeper. You awakened a feeling of recognition they could never fully explain. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate wrote, "Around you, I felt like I didn't always need the perfect words. Sometimes your presence itself made things feel lighter." And that realization is exactly why they kept remembering you. They weren't only missing conversations, they were missing the feeling those conversations created. Then came the line they had been saving. "I wish I had told you sooner that you became one of the people my heart quietly hoped would remain in my life." But the letter doesn't stop there. Don't skip. Your soulmate suddenly admits that writing this has changed something inside them. For the first time, instead of asking themselves what could go wrong, they started wondering what honesty could make possible. "Maybe I waited because I wanted certainty," they wrote, "but feelings don't always arrive with guarantees." That sentence became their turning point. They realized they could spend endless days analyzing every look, every conversation, every silence, or they could finally accept that the only way forward is through truth. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate then wrote something they had never allowed themselves to imagine seriously before. What if our unfinished story is unfinished because neither of us has written the next page yet? Suddenly, this secret love letter is no longer simply about remembering you. It becomes an invitation to possibility. Not a demand. Not a promise. Just one honest opening where something meaningful might finally be allowed to grow. Stay till the end, because the final lines are getting closer, and your soulmate has saved the most vulnerable sentence for last. They wrote your name one more time, paused, and underneath it placed the words, "If you ever wondered whether I wanted another chance to know you more deeply, the answer is yes." But immediately afterward, another line appears, one even more surprising, and if that chance ever comes, I don't want to waste it hiding behind silence again. The 5-minute window is almost gone now. The letter could disappear, but the truth behind it cannot be unwritten inside their heart. Don't skip, because there is still one final message beneath everything you have heard. a message your soulmate wrote only after believing the letter was already finished. It begins with 4 quiet words: "Wait, one last thing," and what follows may be the clearest confession they have made yet, because this time they aren't talking about yesterday, memories, or possibilities. They are finally telling you exactly what they hope happens next. Wait, one last thing. Those 4 words changed the entire secret letter, because your soulmate had already decided they were finished when one final truth refused to remain hidden. Don't skip, because this is where they stopped protecting themselves and wrote exactly what they hoped would happen next. I hope one day we get a moment where there is no distance between what we feel and what we are brave enough to say. They weren't asking for some perfect scene. They imagined something simple, one conversation without pretending, without guessing, without replaying every sentence afterward. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate continued, "If that moment comes, I want to listen to your truth too. I don't want to assume what is inside your heart." And that single sentence reveals something important. This letter isn't about forcing an ending. It is about finally opening a door. Your soulmate wants to know whether the connection they carried quietly was something you experienced in your own way. They want reality to replace imagination, because they have spent enough time wondering what might have happened if both of you had simply spoken sooner. Then, almost unexpectedly, the letter becomes softer. Your soulmate writes, "Whatever happens after honesty, I will still be grateful that I met you. Don't skip." Those words gave them the courage to write what comes next. They admitted that knowing you taught them something about themselves. You showed them that certain people can leave an impression without trying, that small moments can become unforgettable, and that sometimes the people who affect us most deeply are the ones who never realize how much they changed inside us. Then came another confession. "You made me want to become more honest with my own heart." Something huge is waiting for you, because immediately beneath those words, your soulmate reveals that they have stopped waiting for every condition to become perfect. They understand now that courage doesn't always arrive before the moment. It sometimes appears because you finally choose the moment. And that is why this letter exists. The disappearing 5-minute message became their way of proving to themselves that they could finally let the truth breathe. But stay till the end, because there is still a sealed thought at the bottom of the letter, separated from everything else, as though your soulmate wanted your eyes to stop there. It reads, "There is something I would choose differently if I could return to the beginning." Don't skip, because what they regret is not meeting you, caring about you, or remembering you. Their regret is much simpler. They wish they had been more honest sooner. They wish they had asked the question they kept swallowing. They wish they had told you that your presence mattered before silence became easier than speaking. And now comes the revelation that could reshape everything. Your soulmate has already decided what they would say if another opportunity appeared. No rehearsing. No complicated speech. Just one clear sentence from the heart. Those words are waiting in the final section of the letter, and once they are revealed, there will be nothing left for your soulmate to hide behind. The sentence your soulmate has been saving is finally sitting alone at the bottom of the letter, and somehow, it says more than everything that came before it. Don't skip, because after all the hesitation, memories, unfinished conversations, and words they nearly erased, they wrote, "If life gives me another genuine moment with you, I will finally tell you how much you have meant to me." Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate stared at that sentence and realized this was the first time they had written their intention without hiding behind uncertainty. They weren't talking about some distant fantasy anymore. They were admitting that if another opportunity appears, they want to meet it with honesty. "I don't want to look back again and wonder why I stayed quiet," they continued. "I want you to hear the truth from me, clearly and sincerely." And suddenly, the entire secret love letter makes sense. The 5-minute countdown was never about making their feelings temporary. It represented the opposite, the moment they finally stopped giving themselves endless time to overthink what their heart had already understood. Then your soulmate added something completely unexpected. Don't skip. They wrote, "Maybe you never knew how close I came to telling you before." There had apparently been more than one moment when the confession was almost spoken. A conversation that lasted slightly longer than usual. A message they started but never finished. A goodbye where they wanted to turn around and say one more thing. Your soulmate remembered every one of those almost moments, and now they see them differently. They weren't proof that the connection meant nothing, they were reminders of how much fear can leave unsaid. Something huge is waiting for you, because the letter reveals what they learned from all of it. The next meaningful moment deserves more courage than the last one received. Your soulmate doesn't want another memory built around words that remained trapped inside their mind. If they get another opportunity to speak, they want that moment to become the beginning of clarity instead of another unfinished chapter. And then, just when the letter appears completely finished, your soulmate adds a final note underneath everything else. Stay till the end, because this note carries a different energy, calmer, clearer, almost peaceful. If you remember nothing else from these words, remember that you mattered more than my silence ever showed. They wanted you to understand that hesitation and indifference were never the same thing. Their quietness could not explain the depth of what they were processing inside. Don't skip, because one last revelation remains. Your soulmate has written a short message after the final note, almost like a secret inside the secret letter. It contains no long explanation, no memories, and no questions. It is simply the truth they would want you to hear if only a few seconds remained before the entire letter disappeared. And those final words may be the most powerful ones they have written yet. With only seconds left in the imagined 5-minute window, your soulmate stops explaining and finally writes the truth in its simplest form. I cared more deeply than I ever knew how to show. Don't skip, because beneath that sentence comes something even more revealing. If you ever felt confused by my silence, please know there were moments when I wanted to say everything, but I didn't know where to begin. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate admits that the hardest part was never understanding their feelings, it was finding the courage to make those feelings visible. They kept believing they needed the perfect words, the perfect timing, the perfect sign. But while writing this secret letter, they finally understood something. Genuine feelings do not need a flawless speech. Sometimes they only need honesty. And that is why the next sentence feels different from everything before it. If I could begin again, I would start by simply telling you that you became important to me. Then your soulmate writes about the future one final time, but now there is no imaginary perfect ending. Don't skip. They write, I don't know exactly what the next chapter would look like, and maybe that is what made me hesitate for so long. Yet underneath it comes the change you have been waiting for, but I no longer need to know every answer before I can tell the truth. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has stopped trying to control what happens after honesty. They simply want the chance to be understood. They want you to know that those little memories mattered, that those unfinished conversations stayed with them, and that the connection left an impression they could never reduce to something meaningless. Maybe our paths crossed to teach me that some people deserve to hear what they meant to us while there is still time to say it. And with that realization, your soulmate finally reaches the courage they had been searching for through every line of this letter. But the letter still has one final space left, and what appears there is not another explanation. Stay till the end, because your soulmate writes one question. The question everything has been leading toward. If we had one completely honest conversation, what would you want to tell me? Then they leave the next line empty. No imagined answer. No assumption. Just space for your truth. Don't skip, because that empty line may be the most meaningful part of the entire letter. Your soulmate has finally said what they needed to say, but they understand that a real connection cannot be written by one heart alone. And just beneath that empty space, almost hidden at the edge of the page, there is one last sentence. It was written smaller than everything else as the why.